to improve your ability to focus is by setting your sights on achieving small victories. When I decided back in the 90s, I had gotten to be a pretty big boy. I'm already a pretty big guy. I'm like 6'1", and I'm normally when I was in high school I was 6'1" and 195. I was back then considered a big guy. And when I got out and went into the military, I got out of the military. I was still 6'1", and I was like 175, 180. And that's still big boy. But then I really blossomed out, and I gained a lot of weight, and I needed to lose some weight. So I decided that I had to get back into shape. I had to get myself back into what I called my fighting weight. It was not a fighting weight, but that's what they call it. And it was the comfortable weight that I needed to be at. And so what I did was I made a decision that I was going to lose weight. But when I made the decision that I was going to lose weight, I didn't decide on the fact that I was going to lose 68 pounds over the next 6 months. I didn't do that. I didn't know how many pounds I was going to lose over the next 6 months. I was determined to lose some weight. I just set my focus on losing a pound or two a day. And I figured if I could just lose a pound or two a day, that I'd be okay over time. I didn't set out vowing I would eat right for the next 6 months and I would only have Jell-O and lettuce and all this crap. That's not what I did. What I did was I set my target to eat right and exercise one day at a time so that I could stay as clear as I could on what my objective was, and that was to lose 1 or 2 pounds every day. See, by doing this, I had no idea at the time, but looking back, I know exactly what I did. I was able to focus on my expected outcomes one day at a time. I wasn't worried about what happened the day before. I wasn't worrying about where I would be, in 6 months. I didn't let myself get distracted by what seemed to be an almost impossible task over an impossible amount of time. I figured at the end of the first day that if I could focus on doing what I needed to do that day, I could do it again the next day, and the next day, and the next day. All I needed to do was stay determined and focused on what I needed to do. I created new eating habits, and I was motivated at beating myself each day from what I did the day before. And I did this day by day by day by day. And if you can do it the first day, you can do it the second day, and the third day, and the fourth day, and on and on and on. But you can't do it if you're not focused on that. And I did lose 68 pounds in 6 months. I didn't starve myself. I ate right. I just did it. I just did it one day at a time. My youngest son competes at a very high level of competition in what they call obstacle course racing. It's like the Spartan races and the Tough Mudders and some of the other ones that they have out there. And over time, I've seen this progression of his abilities. And this past weekend, he did really well. He placed in the top 10 and beat some of the top people in the sport, coming in the top 10. But I started thinking while I was doing this show, writing up this show, about how his progression has been. And I recall a conversation we had after his first race he ever did. And he was telling me about how difficult it was and all this. And I said to him, "Well, have you ever thought of just thinking about each obstacle as you come to it? Don't think of the whole course as being, a 13 or 17-mile course of these difficult obstacles. Just think of you got to race from this obstacle to the next. And the only obstacle you got to worry about is that obstacle that's in front of you. And, he's, yeah. I remember the whole conversation. And then last year when we were at the World Championship for it, that came true. And it if you read one of his write-ups on his blog, mile12concept.com, you'll understand he just took one obstacle at a time. And each one of those obstacles became a personal race. So he was able to focus on just that obstacle, getting through that obstacle with the best time that he could, and then race to the next obstacle. What that does is it allows him to only focus on what was important at that time. All of the other obstacles in front of him are just a distraction. That one obstacle in front is what is important. And come to find out, I think he even uses it now in his practice about with his patients about getting just through this and focusing on this piece of it, of your treatment, and then we'll worry about the next piece and the next piece as they come. So focus becomes an important piece of your mental toughness. If you can focus on what's in front of you and get through that, you can get through just about anything. I remember, this is kind of funny. I'm embarrassed to even say this, but I remember a coach that I used to coach football with, and we were standing on the sideline, and we're standing there, and we're just like shaking our heads, and it's like, holy smokes, how are we ever going to win a game? We're undersized, we're undernumbered. We had like 25 boys out there. Most teams have 32 at least. Undersized, understrength, underskilled, and you just go on and on and on. And I remember very vividly him turning to me and he says, "Jeff, how do you think you eat an elephant?" I looked at him and I started laughing. I said, "I don't know. I have no idea. Why are you even asking me this? We're trying to get these guys ready for their first game." And he laughed at me, and it was a fun laugh. And he told me, he says, "Jeff, you eat an elephant one bite at a time." And it hit me. In other words, what he was saying was, to succeed, all we really needed to do to win was to focus on the tasks at hand, nothing else. And over time, we would succeed. And over time, we did. Over time, we did win. And come to find out, over 4 years, we actually were in the state playoffs. Going from 0 wins first year to state playoffs in the 4th year. And how did we do it? How did the head coach do it? He stayed focused on what mattered. What mattered was the boys, the players, needed to learn how to win. We couldn't be distracted on the fact that most of the teams outweighed us, outplayed us, outskilled us, had far more boys than us. What we needed to do was enable our boys to know that they could win. And once they learned that, once they focused on that and they got their win, they kept on winning. All I attribute to focus. They put the distractions out. I'll tell you one of the distractions that happened to us, and this is an amazing thing for high school football. The opposing coach knew that my son was a quarterback, and that he was good because the opposing coach held quarterback camps, and he had been at his camp, and he knew what he could bring. So in order to try to distract us from our game, we show up at the game, we're on the sidelines, the boys are ready to play, and we see this helicopter coming in. And the helicopter comes in, and the helicopter lands in the middle of the football field. The door opens. The head coach and his assistant coach step out. They wave to our boys. They turn around and walk to their sideline, and the helicopter takes off. Now, what do you think our kids felt? They were so distracted by the fact that this coach came in on a helicopter. It was a difficult first half. But that second half, they realized that they were in the game. All they needed to do was focus on what mattered to win. And they did. And they did in a big way. But they would have never, if they would have let that distraction of the helicopter landing on the field play front and center in their mind. I can't tell you how many times this simple phrase, how do you eat an elephant, has proven its worth to me. To win those small victories, you need to establish a daily schedule for yourself where you take specific actions in a measurable way. It's like when I lost weight. I took specific actions throughout the day. I went at certain times, I exercised at certain times, and I didn't do certain things at certain times. And it all added up for me to very specific small victories. And over time, those victories became very large victories. Once you develop your routine, you got to stick to it. You can't begin to win small victories every day without sticking to it. See, when you focus on your behavior, the results will come. They will follow. But you got to focus on what it is that you want in order for those results to come to you. Now, here's an easy way to remember what focus is and what you need to do to stay focused. Okay, so focus is spelled F-O-C-U-S, and so F is for find. You need to identify what you need to improve on to be successful. The O is for organize. You need to organize an action plan that helps you improve upon what you need or what you identified as needing to be improved upon. The C is for collect. Once you identify what it is that you need to improve upon, and once you get your action plan together, you need to research and collect the data that you need to move forward with your action plan. Like when I needed to research what foods I needed to eat and what foods I needed to stay away from. I already knew I was going to do certain things. I just needed to know what those certain things would be now. U is for understanding. You need to understand all of the variables and all of the potential risks involved in making your improvements. And this isn't for you to worry about or to distract you. This is so that you know what might come your way, so that you can build into your action plan how you're going to mitigate these things along the way. How you're going to handle them. And S is for start. You need to execute your action plan as you've laid it out. The only way you focus is to start. Now, I do this show to ask the questions and present the ideas that help you improve your life. And like I said, and I've been saying for a long time now, those changes and improvements in your life will require a change in your thinking. And just like we discussed today, that change in thinking will come in as focus this time. And you need to be able to learn how to focus on what it is that's important to you and put out or block out all of the distractions that would keep you from achieving whatever it is that you're after. For many of us, that will require a change in our thinking. Now is the time to act. If you wait, it just gets harder and harder and harder. Now is the time to take on that hard work. If you want to lose weight,